Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, it's Big Nard. We're about to do Sun Tzu Auto War Nuggets. I think we're on part. I think this is part 9, and it's funny because I just put it in the thing, but I'm assuming part 9. So we're doing the Sun Tzu Auto War Nuggets part 9, where we go ahead and we read the book Auto War. I actually have it also in um, the lower right hand. I guess it's the right hand corner of the video. I don't know if it's maybe the left for the view. I don't know if it's viewed in which way. But anyway, this is the book we're reading. So, Art of War, Sun Tzu, the book by Thomas Cleary, Shambhala Dragon Editions. If you have this book, pull it out, read along with us. So, what we're going to do is, as you guys, well, most as you know, 'cause this is just me testing right now. Um, so, I do like the present video. I like the StreamYard setup so far. I like the lighting is good. I should go over this every time. And then so I'm just working now on just reading, getting more behind the mic, see how it sounds, see how the audio sounds, and taking it from there. So let's get started. For the people who haven't been watching any of, haven't seen any videos, let me just turn the volume down on this. Sorry about that. So for the people who haven't watched the videos, basically when we're reading the Art of War Sun Tzu, what happens is Sun Tzu, born in like about 500 BC, and what happens is he's a general of an army, had an army of 30,000, defeated an army of 300,000 using these tactics, the tactics that's in this book, wrote them down. So what happens is Sun Tzu, you take one line of what he wrote. I guess he condensed these a lot of information into like a sentence or a small paragraph, and then you have other generals and noble people into that at that time frame, like around 500 BC, that were commenting on what he wrote, and I'm giving insight on what he wrote. So what we do is I read Master Sun, and I'll display it on the I display it on the screen here. Let me see if I could. Let me click here. Let me give an example. So this would be right now we're on page 82. And this would be what some Sun Tzu said. And if I can't fit on the screen, you'll see like 3 dots or 2 dots. That just means that it's a lot. It's more to it. So, but I'll be reading. So I'll read Sun Tzu first. Then I'll give the Bernarderisms and my commentary on what I think he's saying. And then I'll read what all the other generals said about what he said. So a lot of stuff in this book, a lot of profound statements in this book. And the thing that I like is that it seems like it deals with more than just war. So, when I talk about it, I'll just basically talk about it from my point of view. And that's pretty much it. So, you want to throw any comments in? Again, this is actually me testing. So this is not like it's an official video. I'm streaming live, but it's just testing. All right. So let's begin. All right. So we'll start with Sun Tzu, and we're beginning now. So it is said that if you know others and know yourself, you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. If you do not know yourself, others, but know yourself, you will win and lose one. Oh, you will win one and lose one. I just botched this up, so we're going to read it again. And this is what we ended on, so I'm just going to read it again. I just botched it up. I just noticed. So it is said that if you know others and know yourself, you will not be imperiled in 100 battles. If you do not know others, but know yourself, you will win one and you will lose one. If you do not know others and you do not know yourself, you will be imperiled in every single battle. Again, this is a really heavy statement. And where I was mentioned before, know thyself is what I'm a big proponent of. Know thyself. Like, so one of the things, either through meditation, just sit there and you contemplate. I got a thing that I learned with you ask yourself a question of something that you want to know, right? And then you give it 20 answers, and then see what your mind comes up with to create 20 answers. It's pretty good. So whenever I have something that I'm thinking about, I write the question down and I come up with 20 answers. So let's say if like I want to learn how to run this broadcast better, I'll write a question. Hey, that'll be the question. And then I would come up with 20, I would write down 20 ways that I could improve on the broadcast. And then you just look at them, then you take like the top 3 and you go through them and you pick which ones you think are the top 3, right? So that's pretty much the best you could do in general. Like if you come up with 20 answers, which is very difficult, when you get to like 10, it starts getting tough because now you got to start thinking because you can't repeat the same thing, right? So it gets tough. It starts to get difficult after 10. But when you get up to 20, now you have 20 ideas that you came up with, and then you just pick the top 3 and you can focus, you can prioritize those and focus on those because those will be your best possible solutions that you can come up with. You can further expound on it, but at least this will be a good starting point. So that's pretty much from that perspective. So, but going into know yourself is, listen internally, like who you are, right? Understand your limitations, your weaknesses, and be able to take criticism, right? Because a lot of things we can't see because it's in us. Like we can't see how people see us, right? Like, so there's perceptions and things that we are not in control of. And it's good to get that feedback too, as long as it's constructive criticism. But that's knowing yourself and things you do, putting yourself in situations to see how you react. That's very helpful in mental development, mental health, so to speak, and mental development and growth. So again, I believe if you know yourself, then that's why. And if you know the others, you know your enemies, you know yourself, then you will win 100 battles because you know which ones to take, which ones not. You'll know what to do in certain circumstances. And then once any of those other 2 are missing, then it just goes further down. Not knowing yourself, but knowing others, or even not knowing others, but know others, not know yourself, which you theoretically can't know others if you don't know yourself. And then not knowing yourself and not knowing others, then you're just basically, that's why I say you're basically doomed every battle you go into. And that's just with anything you go into. If you don't understand who you are, you're going to just go wherever the wind blows you. And you don't definitely want to have purpose, have direction, and understand what makes you click. So that's my take on it. And then, but Lee Kwan, he says, if you assess your strength and can fend off opponents, what danger is there? If because of your own strength you fail to measure opponents, then victory is uncertain. So either if you assess your strength and can fend off opponents, the danger is what danger is there? But if because of your own strength you fail to measure opponents, then the victory is uncertain. He's like, you think you're so powerful or you're so good that you just don't take a assessment of what everybody else is, then you're bound to lose, because sometimes not knowing what others' greatnesses are, especially in war, right? You get arrogant or haughty, and you just think that you're the best. And it's funny because these go into other things that they talk about letting the deception, letting people think you're weak when you're strong. Then a person who is like they're saying, if you think that your strength is so powerful that you negate everybody else, then you're in quite a troublesome situation. All right, so Dumu says, compare your government to that of the enemy. Compare your military leadership to that of the enemy. Compare your logistics to that of the enemy. Compare your ground to that of the enemy. Having established these comparisons, you will have a preview of superiorities and inferiorities, weaknesses and strengths. This will enable you to prevail every time in subsequent military operations. And that goes back, that goes back to the whole assessment process. You do, and people go, oh, don't compare me to, you do comparisons. We all do comparisons, but people, I guess from an emotional perspective, they go, I don't do comparisons. Yes, you do. Everybody, for the most part. And I believe that everybody does some level of comparison. But when it gets unhealthy is if you're trying to compare yourself to live up to somebody else, right? Because when everybody's unique in that sense, but you will compare. Well, I do, and I think everybody does. We make comparisons. But if it becomes unhealthy, if you those comparisons affect your mental status as opposed to assessing, right? Making a comparison to user. I'm buying a TV. I'm going to compare the specs. Whichever specs are the best, that's the TV I'm going to pick, right? It's a no-brainer. That's cool. Comparing yourself to somebody specifically, like if you're playing basketball, um, you know, I'm comparing myself to Jordan. Hey, it's okay to do that. But when you start wanting to be Jordan and it gets to that point where it becomes obsessive, then that becomes a problem. So, but I do believe we all compare. Zhang Yu, he goes, when you know others, then you are able to attack them. When you know yourself, you are able to protect yourself. Attack is the time for defense. Defense is a strategy of attack. If you know this, you will not be in danger even if you fight 100 battles. When you only know yourself, this means guarding your energy and waiting. This is why knowing defense but not offense means half victory, half defeat. When you know neither the arts of defense nor the arts of attack, you will lose in battle. Yeah, so that's Zhang Yu. So that's what that is. And the good thing is that concludes chapter 3. So we're finished with chapter 3, and we're moving on to chapter 4, which is awesome. And 4 deals with formation. So we're on chapter 4, and we're dealing with formation. And like I said, to me, it's a very good book. So let's go ahead and begin. All right. So this one starts without a quote from Master Sun Tzu. We'll just read what it says right now. So this is just Dumu, Wang Ji, and Zhang Yu making comments, I guess, about the concept of formation. That's my assumption. You see the inner conditions of opponents by means of their external formations. The inner condition of the formless is inscrutable, whereas that of those who have adopted a specific form is obvious. The inscrutable win, the obvious lose. All right, that's pretty cool. Wang Ji says those skilled in military operations are able to change their formations in such a way as to ensure victory based on the actions of the opponent. Talking about adaptability. And adaptability or seasons, I call it in the Godier, adaptability and seasons are very, very critical. Zhang Yu is saying this means the offensive and defensive formations used by two armies. When they are hidden within, they cannot be known to others. When they are visible without, opponents can come in through the chinks. Formation is revealed by attack and defense. So discussion of formation follows the discussion of planning a siege. Okay. Oh, so they're basically saying that's why they're talking about. Okay. So the reason why the next chapter 4 is formation, because that follows the discussion of planning a siege. Okay, which is cool. So like I said, this is a cumulative aspects. So that's why I'm doing them in nuggets, roughly 30-minute nuggets. So you can read them. You don't have to, because like I was doing something like an hour, 50 minutes, 2 hours. That's that. To break them into nuggets, I believe we better. In these nuggets, you can read the nuggets independent of going through the entire book. But I do recommend going through the entire series of this. All right, so now we're at the first Master Sun. In ancient times, skillful warriors first made themselves invincible and then watched for vulnerabilities in their opponents. All right, so no, that's it's basically be the best you could be, right? So these, I guess in ancient times, the skillful warriors were the best at what they could do. They made sure everything that they can possibly fix or lock in or protect, they that's what they went and did. So if you be the best you could be, and you know that you're doing the best you could do, then that's invincibility, right? And then if you are watching for the vulnerabilities of your opponent, because that's what you're going to attack. You're not going to attack their strengths. You're going to attack their vulnerabilities. And then that's what the other enemy is going to do to you as well. So they're going to look to see what they can find in you. And each one will find something. So the only thing you could do is be the best you could be the best trained army, the best trained person, the best trained person at your job, the best trained person in your career, anything you're doing. Like this, me doing these videos here is because this is training. That's why I said I'm testing, because I'm trying to be the best that I could be. And the way that you do it is you do it, make assessments, like how you hear me talking about the lights. And I changed the light. I bought clamps, so I'm making modifications, and I'm creating processes and systems to make this efficient and effective. In fact, I forgot to push that, to make this efficient and effective. So this whole process that we do for ourselves is the same thing you do for an army as well. Obviously, it can be adapted different because it's military, but I'm just saying the concepts, the foundational aspects are still foundational aspects across the board. That's how I feel. That's my take on it. So, basically be the best you can be, train the hardest you can train, be you at 100%, nothing less, then it'll be very difficult for you to be defeated, that's what I believe the meaning of invincible means. And then you just looking at the vulnerabilities of the opponent, and that allows you to take advantage of them. So the goal is to show as little or cover gaps. In the book they call it gaps, but close as many gaps as you could possibly close, right? And then let the enemy discover some of the loopholes and gaps, because we all have them. It's just that you want to minimize them, and any obvious ones you want to definitely try to fortify. But that's my take on it. So let's see what Zhang Yu says. Making yourself invincible means knowing yourself. Waiting for vulnerability in opponents means knowing others. So that's pretty cool. So Mayo Chin says, hide your form, be orderly within, and watch for gaps and slack. All right, that's cool. So those are the only two quotes. Those are the only two people who responded. So now we go to Master Son's next one on page 85. Invincibility is in oneself. Vulnerability is in the opponent. And that goes into it. You control your vulnerability because you have the ability to assess and do anything that actually make changes or do what is required to get you to the position that you know you should be in, right? So that goes to you. And the reason why the vulnerability is in the opponent, because anything that the opponent doesn't do becomes a vulnerability, right? What doesn't strengthen, fortify becomes a vulnerability. It's up to them to become invincible. So that's my take on it. Now, Du Mu is saying, keeping your own military in order, always being prepared for opposition, erase your tracks and hide your form, making yourself inscrutable to opponents. When you see that an opponent can be taken advantage of, then you emerge to attack. Wang Ji says, invincibility is a matter of self-defense. Vulnerability is simply a matter of having gaps. And so my commentary is even from the beginning, it fits with these guys. So next one is Master Su. Master Su is saying, therefore, skillful warriors are able to be invincible, but they cannot cause opponents to be vulnerable, right? That's why vulnerability lies into the opponent, right? So that's basically what he's saying. You are able to, like I said, skillful, and they use the term skillful. That's why I said everything that they're saying is concise. So these sentences, although short, contain a lot of content. They're very dense with information, because he says, therefore, skillful warriors. And you only gain skills by practicing and training. So skillful warriors are able to be invincible, but they cannot cause opponents to be vulnerable, right? So for the opponent's sake, hopefully they're doing the same thing, but they cause themselves to be invincible. And the funny thing is, what he says applies to you, right? So the opponent does the same when they're looking at you. You control that, but they don't control they don't control your training regimen, your discipline. and all of the other attributes that make a great warrior. All right, so now Dumu, that's my take on it. So now Dumu says if opponents have no formation to find out, no gap or slack to take advantage of, how can you overcome them even if you are well equipped? How? If they don't have no formation to find out, no gaps or slack to take advantage of, how can you overcome them even if you're well equipped? And that goes vice versa. So I like that, Dumu. So Zhang Yu says, if you hide your form, conceal your tracks, always remain strictly prepared, then you can be invulnerable yourself. If the forms of strength and weakness of opponents are not outwardly manifest, then how can you be assured of victory over them? So those are the responses that they had there. So now we go into the next one. And this one is, we're still on page 85. He's saying that is why it is said that victory can be discerned, but not manufactured. So you can use discernment and judgment in victory, but you can't create it. Victory cannot be created because you do not know what the other opponent has. So you can't manufacture victory. There's no way to know it. But victory can be discerned, like making great decisions and using all of those assessments and processing it. So you definitely can discern it, but you can't. It doesn't guarantee you victory, even though it gives you a high probability. And that's the word I like to use, probability, on this. So let's see what the others say. That's my take. Let's see what Cow says. Victory can be discerned to the extent that you see a set formation. But to the extent that the enemy has preparations, it cannot be manufactured. Because remember, they're preparing too. Even when you're looking at, because I like to refer to boxing or MMA, but what happens is when you're preparing for an opponent, that proponent is also preparing for you, right, at the same time. So that's when everything matters. At this point, every single thing on the table matters. Everything counts when you're preparing, because anything you miss, if they don't miss it, then it's going to be a problem for you. All right. So Dumu said, you can only know if your strength if your own strength is sufficient to overcome an opponent. You cannot force the opponent to slack off to your advantage. Yes, that's basically what we're saying, the same thing. Now here's my man Do You again. I always get my man Do You. He comes in every once in a while, but I like him. He said, when you have assessed the opponent and seen the opponent's formation, then you could tell who will win. That's the discernment process. If the opponent is inscrutable and formless, then you cannot presume victory. You can't presume victory because, like I said, you don't know. Like, you don't even know if they're being deceptive, right? So you don't know if ploys or tactics are being played on you. All right, so Ho Yang Ji says, the victory that can be known is up to you. The meaning that you are prepared. The victory cannot be manufactured is up to the opponent, meaning that the opponent has no form. It's good stuff, man. All right, so now we got we're on 86, and Master Sun saying invincibility is a matter of defense. Vulnerability is a matter of attack. Yeah, because invincibility is it is a result of attack. So yeah, that makes sense. Like, so being invincible means you cannot be harmed, or your vulnerabilities are limited or non-existent, right? Vulnerability is a matter of attack. Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So if you're invincible, it's because your defenses are up. But being vulnerable is attack. Attack because you attack vulnerabilities. All right, that's pretty good. That's my take on it. So Cacao says, for an invincible defense, conceal your form. When opponents attack you, then they are vulnerable. And Dumu says, as long as you have not seen vulnerable formations in opponents, you hide your own form, preparing yourself in such a way as to be invincible. In order to preserve yourself, when opponents have vulnerable formations, then it is time to go out to attack them. Yeah, so that's this is following the same thing. So Zhang Yu said, when you know you do not yet have the means to conquer, you guard your energy and wait. When you know that an opponent is vulnerable, then you attack the heart and take it. And then Wang Ji says, those on defensive are so because they do not have enough to win. Those on the offense are so because they have more than enough to win. And these things all interconnect, right? So what Wang Ji is saying is normally you're defensive when you don't have enough to attack, especially when we're talking about war. But that again, that's in life. Whenever you're preparing something, if you're not ready, you tend to sit back and save energy, which is you're accumulating energy before you make your move on anything, like anything in life. You do that. But when you're ready for something and you're prepared, you normally go out and do it. So those that are doing are confident that they can do it, which therefore is why they're doing it. But that's cool, man. Yeah. Wow. So those are all fit. Yeah. When you go out and get it, you know you can do it. Like you already achieved that level where you're like, hey, I'm gonna go and do it. And then when you're waiting, you're not you're not confident basically. So you tend to wait until you build up that level of confidence. This is just in life, right? Level of confidence to do it. So pretty interesting. All right. So Master Su says, defense is for times of insufficiency. Attack is for times of surplus. I'm telling you, this is good stuff, man. There was this thing with in the news recently. There's this lady, Cardi B. Now the other lady is, I think, Tasha K. I don't follow him, but she sued. I think Cardi B sued a blogger, Tasha, because she was making up lies, right? And she confessed to the lies during the thing. But Cardi B was like, I'm trying. She's a very she's famous and presumably have a lot of money. So what she did is she went and sued her. When I say attacked, not to that extent, but she pursued the attack and she won because she knew that she had the resources in order um, to make the attack, and she won, right? So a lot of times when we don't have enough or insufficient amounts, we tend to slow down, but we attack when we have a lot or we're abundant. And so that's my take on it. So Lee Kwan, we're going to end it with this one. Lee Kwan said, those whose strength is insufficient should defend. Those whose strength is super abundant can attack. And he said, can. You got to listen to all these little words they say, because can attack doesn't mean you should attack, but can attack. Excuse me. And then you got Zhang Yu. When we are on the defense, it is because there is some lack in terms of a way to seize victory. So we wait for what we need. When we are on the offensive, it is because we already have more than enough of what it takes to overcome an opponent. So we go forth and strike. This means that we will not do battle unless we are certain of complete victory. We will not fight unless we are sure of it. Sure it is safe. Some people think insufficiency means weakness and surplus means strength, but this impression is wrong. Yeah, it's basically confidence, right? But it's not definitely a weakness or strength, because there's times to even when we were talking earlier, there are times to retreat where it's 100% not coward behavior to retreat. But yeah, so there's a time to attack and there's a time to defend. It's a time to move forward and a time to hold, or even a time to retreat. So that doesn't have anything to do regarding strength and weaknesses. Because like I said, if there's 100 soldiers and I got 5, and it's not advantageous for me 5 soldiers to try to attack 100 equally equipped soldiers. For our best sakes, it would be to go, you know what, let them go. Because I remember I played Call of Duty, so just as a Call of Duty thing, when we're playing, this happened today. We played a little while. In fact, I'm gonna upload some of my streams into this channel just to so you can see them. But what happened? You could check me out on Twitch. Let me see if I got the. Yeah, so you could definitely check me out as well on Twitch. This is Big Nard 007 on Twitch. Let me just make sure, put the banners, because we're definitely wrapping it up. But check me out at bignard007.com. And this is my show on Twitch, Big Nard 007. So that's why I play Call of Duty, other games, but mainly Call of Duty. So I'll be playing with Dr. Boyce Watkins. So check Dr. Boyce Watkins out at drboycewatkins.com. And then G Immaculate, he's like the general, man. Be dropping he's like the one that he's the general, man, of the team, because he plays very well. But check him out, gmacculategaming.com. And it's cool, man. Just if you guys want to know, my gaming tag is Big Nard. That's the number. This is Activision for Call of Duty. It's Big Nard number 5808457. Check me out. And basically that's it. I'm just gonna definitely end it there, and then we'll pick it up the next nugget. Hey man, so I'm excited about it. And this part here is good, man. So again, defense is not weakness. And offense doesn't always mean strength. For the most part, it does, but it doesn't always mean one is strong or not. All right, so that's it. That's my take on it. Listen, I definitely appreciate everybody for being here, for checking it out. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you got any questions or anything, I'm definitely open to answer them. And if you got any feedback, just throw it in the chat. Definitely check you out, and appreciate you. Have a good morning, night, evening, afternoon, depending on where you at in the world. And that's it. So thanks again. I'll check you guys out. Signing out.